Alright, so picture this. You have this ship. It's in the middle of the ocean, and for some reason, it just cracks and spills oil everywhere. So, what are we gonna do about that? Simple. Bioremediation. What is this bioremediation? So, bioremediation is any process that uses microorganisms or their enzymes to return the contaminated environment back to its original condition. Okay, so there are many forms of bioremediation. You know them as bioventing, land farming, bioreactors, blah blah blah. But all those processes you know of, they all just fall under two big groups, which are in situ and ex situ. So what's that? In situ is cleaning up on the spot, while ex situ is taking the contaminated matter into a different place to be treated respectively. So let's get back to that oil spill. So what happens here is that the microorganisms convert the contaminants into non-toxic byproducts. And that's how they work in a nutshell. And that's bioremediation.
Hello, and welcome to our special on bioremediation. Tonight we'll be talking about oil spills and pollution and how we can use bioremediation to solve these problems. My name is Rachel, and this is my partner Alyssa.
Hi, Rach. I'm a little under the weather today because of last week's huge oil spill.
It was so tragic. Let's talk about it for a second. As many of you may know, an oil tanker 10 miles off the coast of Mexico has capsized with over 40 million gallons of oil. This is the second major oil spill in the past 10 years.
Yes, it is truly horrible.
But with this new technology called bioremediation, we will be able to clean up the oil spills in a very efficient way. So Alyssa, what is bioremediation?
Well, bioremediation is a wonderful thing. It is the process of introducing naturally occurring microorganisms to eat away at environmental pollutants. This process is very beneficial in cleaning up oil spills or in general different polluted sites.
May I add on a little?
Certainly.
To clarify what bioremediation stands for, remediate means to problem solve, and the bio part of bioremediation means to problem solve problems with biological organisms. Also, to add on a little, when Alyssa says microorganisms, she's talking about fungi, bacteria, and protista.
Thank you for the clarification, Rachel. I think it is about time that we send this down to our expert scientist, Dr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Alyssa. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Armstrong. Before I talk about bioremediation directly, let's talk about some background information. The use of bioremediation in order to clean up oil spills is based on the natural process known as biodegradation. However, this process does not remove the most toxic and dangerous compounds from water. All the methods that we apply are just measures to make sure that the natural processes are carried out faster than they normally would. Seeding of microbes, applying the correct type and amount of microbes to the oil slick will ensure the biodegradation occurs. Some microbes commonly used include Alcanarax, Borkinisum, Alsperia, and Ocean spiralysis. Now, I know that was a lot of information, but I hope you'll be able to retain this and overall just get a better understanding of what bioremediation truly is. Now, let's head back to Alyssa and Rachel to discuss the pros and the cons of bioremediation.
Thank you for that insightful information. Now to change things up a little bit, Rachel and I are going to have a little debate.
Welcome to our debate room. I'm going to take on the pro side of bioremediation, while Alyssa is going to take on the con side. When I count down from 3, I will begin by providing all the pro side information for bioremediation. Are you ready, Alyssa?
Indeed I am.
3, 2, 1. The first pro. Microorganisms capable of degrading oil are present almost everywhere, allowing for bioremediation to be used on a wide range of shorelines. It is also a natural process that does not generate large quantities of secondary waste. Since it is far less labor-intensive and much more cost-effective than traditional cleanup or physical removal of petroleum, it is a better choice than most others. The last reason would be that bioremediation is preferred because once the waste is treated and the contamination is neutralized or removed, the waste itself can be recycled.
Very impressive, Rachel. Now it's my turn. 3, 2, 1. For the first con, it is not as effective as at sea due to dilution. It takes longer than other physical or chemical techniques. It's risky when used for bulk oil, or it could create algal blooms if nutrients are overapplied. Crude oil to the bioremediation does not affect leaves, which can be very toxic, and it can also be harmful to fish.
Well, that was cool. What?
The rebuttal.
The rebuttal.
Feel free to tweet us at #Rachel or to win, or Alyssa to win at the Science and News Twitter page.
Now to conclude our special today, we're going to go outside with our roving reporter, Monica Lamba, to see what the people of Sharon High School have to say about bioremediation.
Hello everyone, my name is Monica Lamba and I'm here at Sharon High School to ask a fellow student, Jack, to see what he knows about bioremediation. So, Jack, what is bioremediation?
It's funny that you asked. I'm actually very well informed in bioremediation.
Wonderful. In that case, let me ask you something a little more difficult. What is the process of bioremediation?
Good question. As microorganisms break down petroleum, the first step in the chemical process is the addition of a hydroxyl group to the end of the alkaline chain, forming an alcohol. The oxidation occurs progressing the compound to acetyl and then to a carboxylic acid. From a carboxylic acid, oxidation continues eventually to produce carbon dioxide, water, and biomass. Oxidation also occurs, causes the hydrocarbon to become more polar and in turn more water soluble, allowing for dilution.
Wow, you blew me away. Let's see what someone else has to say. Monica, I'm here with Charlotte Ransom to ask her a few questions about bioremediation. What do you know about bioremediation?
Well, I really don't know that much, but I know that oil spills are absolutely killing our environment, and that's crazy.
What do you think about bioremediation, Luke?
Well, I think bioremediation is a very important field that definitely needs more funding. Like, our environment is definitely at risk, and like what we're doing to the earth right now is really not good, and there needs to be countermeasures involved, and I just really don't think we're doing enough to fix the environment. So I think bioremediation definitely needs to be more funded and more focused on. So
Now I'm here with Lisa, a big fan of our news station. So what do you know about bioremediation, Lisa?
Doesn't it have to do with oil spills or something?
Yes.
I know. There's also something to do with microbes and microorganisms.
Brilliant. Great response. Well, that concludes our roving reporter segment. Let's send things back to Alyssa and Rachel to close.
Welcome back, everyone. To conclude tonight's special, we are going to leave you with a truly empowering video of bioremediation. The video shows a specific case of bioremediation. On behalf of myself, Alyssa, and the entire broadcasting team of Fox 25 News, I would like to thank you all for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next Monday, everyone.
The species we study is called smooth cordgrass, and it's the foundational species along the coast of the northern Gulf of Mexico and along the Atlantic coast. This species is incredibly important for building land and keeping land from falling into the sea. We went out to several sites that received heavy oiling after the spill. We found that the bacterial community inside the tissues of plants shifted to incorporate more bacteria that are important for breaking down oil. This is also really important because our collaborators have found that there's also oil inside of the plant tissues that still needs to be broken down. So it's possible that these bacterial shifts are going to be important for continuing to clean up the oil spill inside of the plant.
This is Bay Jimmy. It was one of the worst impacted areas after the Deepwater Horizon spill, and we used the shoreline to test different strategies for remediating the oil, for removing it from the surface. And after remediation, I went in and planted Spartina along the shoreline in different plots to compare what rates of erosion were like using different planted varieties versus leaving them unplanted after remediation. This stake right here is the back of a plot that we set up in 2011 where we were comparing planting versus not planting, and the plot extended 15 feet towards the water, and then in front of the plot was an additional 15 feet, and all of that's gone now. So since 2011 we have 30 feet of erosion up until this stake. The aspect of Spartina alterniflora is it's a very powerful ecosystem engineer, which means that it physically impacts this entire ecosystem. So just the presence of the marsh here is dependent on the ability of Spartina to hold the substrate in place.
Well, the elegance of focusing on Spartina is that whether we're here in the Gulf or on the Atlantic or on the Pacific, there are Spartina everywhere. Some Spartina have been artificially introduced and have proven to be problematic, but the native Spartina and other congeners and related species that serve a similar function, that effectively engineer coastlines, can serve a similar purpose.
So now we're taking a closer look at these bacterial communities living symbiotically inside of root tissue to see if we can identify which bacteria are the best at biodegrading oil inside of plant tissue. And what we'd like to do is identify the best bacteria that we can use to inoculate plants in the future that are going to be used for restoration purposes. So instead of just putting a plant out there, we're going to put out a plant-bacterial combination. And that combination of organisms is going to help clean up oil faster.